Hello and welcome to Mimir's realm. You know Mimir, but I am the Dungeon Master. Today we'll be talking about the game 5-Minute Dungeon, where you and your friends must make your way through my dungeon in all of its layers to defeat me, the Dungeon Master. Do you think your party has what it takes to make it through my dungeon and defeat me? We will see. 5-Minute Dungeon is a game where you and up to 4 other friends can travel and beat boss after boss to defeat me using the cards in your hands and your special abilities. 5-Minute Dungeon is rated for 8+, so bring your kitties and see if you can beat me as a family. The game comes in this stylish box, full of all sorts of goodies, including your hero cards, with beautiful art from front to back, and all of the monsters in my dungeon, including Baby Barbarian, the Grime Reaper, Zola the Gorgon, a freaking dragon, all to get to me, the Dungeon Master. 5-Minute Dungeon has 5 classes for you to choose from for your heroes. You can choose the spellcasters, a sorceress who can teleport, or a wizard who can stop time. If you like to be stealthy, we have a thief who can pickpocket, and a ninja who can vault through the air. If you prefer to help your comrades and buff them up, you can try your hand at a Valkyrie who can inspire the other heroes involved, or a paladin who smites down his opponents. If you're more of a hand-on-hand kind of fighter, we have barbarians who are beast slayers, and gladiators who intimidate my monsters. If you prefer to fight from afar, we have a huntress who carries an animal companion, or your hand is a ranger with trick shot. Each individual hero has his own deck of cards with different abilities in them to choose from. While traveling through my dungeon, you will be breaking through doors, and who knows what you will find on the other side. And within each level of there will also be special doors for you to knock down. Ones with this skull depicted on the door. Let's take a more in-depth look at this game, shall we? 5-Minute Dungeon. What a fun game. It comes with some pretty useful instructions that will guide you through the game. We will talk about everything as we get there. You're going to want to make sure you have everything all laid out that you will need to start the game. The first thing you would do is have everybody at the table pick their characters. For this example, I'll be using the 3-player game. You'll want to make sure you have boss number 1, Baby Barbarian. Every player then receives the cards that correspond to their color. And we'll put away the 2 that we are not using. We would want to make sure we have 20 door cards. As for the challenge cards, you would insert 2 for each player in the game. So in this case, 6 cards would be shuffled in to the deck. The next thing you're going to want to do is download the 5-Minute Dungeon 5-Minute Timer. And the great thing about this app is you can pick your own narrator.
I'm John Bailey, and I will be your guide on this 5-minute adventure. Timer resumed.
Now that you have everything set up and ready to play, each player would then draw the appropriate amount of cards for the amount of people playing. So because we are playing with 3 players, we would draw 4 cards each. If it were 2 players, you would draw 5 cards each. And if it was 4 or 5 players, you would only draw 3 cards each. Each hero has their own perks. For instance, the fighters can enrage, choosing 2 players to each draw 3 cards. Or Mighty Leap, which defeats an obstacle. And the gladiators intimidate, you can discard 3 cards to defeat a person. Or as a barbarian, you can discard 3 cards to slay a monster. For the spellcasters, they can cancel any event card, shoot a fireball to defeat a monster, or use a magic bomb, which counts as each one of the resources. The special abilities of the sorceress is to teleport, discard 3 cards to defeat an obstacle. Or as a wizard, you can discard 3 cards to pause time until someone else plays a card. For the divine cards, you can smite to defeat a monster. You can heal by choosing a player to put their discard pile back on top of their draw pile. You can use health potions. All players draw 3 cards from their discard pile. Holy Hand Grenade will defeat any card. And the Divine Shield will pause time until someone plays a card. And all players get to draw a card. As for the stealthy heroes, the ninja can vault. By discarding 3 cards, they can defeat an obstacle. Or as a thief, you can discard 3 cards to draw 5 cards from your draw pile. Can also steal another player's hand and add it to their own. They can backstab a person from the other side of the door, or they can sprint past an obstacle. And last but not least, the archers. You can be a ranger to trick shot, discard 3 cards to defeat a person. Or the huntress. Discard 3 cards to choose another player that can draw 4 cards. With the archers, you can get healing herbs. Choose a player to draw 4 cards from the top of their discard pile. You can snipe a person, or use a wild card to count as any resource needed. The first thing each player would do, in this case, we would draw 4 cards. If it was 2 players, you would draw 5 cards, and 4 to 5 players would draw 3 cards. This would be where you would hit play on your timer to start your timer, and you would knock down the first door. And together, you would work to defeat whatever's beyond the door. So in this case, we would need 3 agility cards in order to defeat a ludicrously tall wall of ice. Now the only person who has a agility card at this moment is the paladin, and we try to see what other people can do to contribute to the game. Well, the ninja can defeat an obstacle by discarding 3 cards. So this person would put those 3 cards in their discard pile, the obstacle would be defeated, and they would immediately draw 3 more cards to bring themselves back up to 4. Then you would continue through the dungeon, drawing more cards in the door pile while the timer goes down, and continuing to try and defeat them. In this case, the ninja and the paladin can work together to defeat that obstacle. When you use your cards to defeat a door card, those cards used are now out of the game, and you would continue flipping and replenishing your cards. The paladin can defeat a monster by discarding 3 cards. So he's going to discard these 3 cards and defeat the monster. And draw 3 new cards. Now we are at a special door card. Oh no, a boo-boo. All players discard a card. Unless you have a way to defeat an event, which none of my players at the moment do. So everybody must discard a card. And redraw their new cards. You must always have 4 cards in your hand. In this case, we would need 2 swords and a spell. Or be able to defeat a person, which the ninja can backstab to defeat the person. And we would continue flipping through the deck. Once you've made your way through the deck of door cards, you would fight the boss for that floor. In this case, you would need 3 agility abilities, 3 arrow abilities, and 3 sword abilities. Between your players, you would beat that card and move on to the next layer. Each boss increases in difficulty as you go through the layers. Until you get to the final Dungeon Master boss. Now, although this seems like a very simple game, the difficult part is completing it within the time frame given. To lose this game, either all of the players run out of cards in their hand before they defeat the boss, or they run out of time. Once a player has discarded all of their cards into their discard pile or into play, they are out of the game until they can obtain more cards by being healed, so the paladin can heal the wizard, allowing them to draw 3 cards from the discard pile. If you feel like you have what it takes to complete my dungeon, I beg you to give it a try. If you lose before defeating one of my bosses, you must start at the beginning of the game. Back at the baby barbarian you go. Although, some people have house ruled that instead of going all the way back to baby barbarian, you could just start at the beginning of that boss level. I don't think it's very fair though, but to each his own, I guess. And I know this game is called 5-Minute Dungeon, but let me tell you, it will take much more than 5 minutes to defeat my dungeon. And especially to defeat me, no matter what route you take. I've once had people play for 4 hours straight, and they still couldn't defeat me, the Dungeon Master. I am much too difficult for them. If you want to try your hand at 5-Minute Dungeon, I would highly recommend it.
Thank you for watching this episode of Mimir's Realm. We hope to see you back again soon. Don't forget to hit the subscribe button and ring the bell so you're always up to date on Mimir's new videos.